Movies, a medium of entertainment present in the world for decades, where one directs events in oddly interesting ways. And you also would have come across many by yourself, hopefully, but only some would have managed to create a lasting impact. It might be because some had really high paced action scenes, unforgettable characters, or some that was so dog shit that you simply couldn't forget it. But have you ever watched a show and be so amazed by it that you wanted to know how a specific scene was carried out? Or how did they bring out so much emotion by just a simple scene? Have you ever found yourself be interested in the what takes place behind the scenes of making a movie? Well, Pompo the Cinephile tries to do just that. When it comes to movies, actors act because they really enjoy it or are simply good at it. But why would anyone willingly take up the work of a producer? Because, let's be real, it is tiresome, it is hectic, and nobody is going to come and thank you even if you did a good job at your work. So, this anime tries to convey just that. That is, the beauty of creating art itself. This movie revolves around Pompo, who grew up with her grandpa, who also happened to be a movie nerd, and also the best producer of his time. And the way they would bond wasn't by taking her for a walk or playing with her in a park, but by sitting beside her, watching movies all day long, and soon as the movie ends, asking questions like, "Hey, what do you think of it? What was your thoughts of that one guy who appeared for like 5 minutes as a background character? Huh? Huh? When are you going to address the elephant in the room?" Bro, you can't even say that in this instance because she's literally a kid there, and it is done so that people like you won't get bored by seeing an old Japanese bald guy who's a director. And what if she looks like a kid? It's better to see a kid director than an old Japanese bald guy. Even if she doesn't look like an old Japanese bald guy, she has inherited all the traits, such as. Anyways. And one day, when Grandpa decided to retire, Pompo was like, "Hey yo, it's my time to hop in," and becomes one of the most well-known producers, just like her Gramps. But Pompo, even though having all sorts of connection in the industry left in by her Gramps, she chooses this nobody called Jean Feeney as her assistant. And when Jean asked, "Why me and not someone else?" she says, "Because."
目に光がなかったからよ。
Now, Gene is an interesting guy. Gene is a person who loves everything about movies, the sets, the actors, the way a specific shot is taken, everything. But he's not the type to ever work on something on his own. And Pompo knew this very clearly. So one day, she randomly calls Gene and goes like, "This movie, right? Make a trailer for this." Seeing this, Pompo was like, "I really like the trailer, Jean. And you know what? You should make a movie for me now." Like, bro, it's not even the same job you are asking him to do. And he doesn't even have an option. And since it's his first movie, he's nervous as hell. And on top of that, he has one of the most well-known retired actors and was low-key overwhelmed by his aura. But then, also having an amateur actress who completely trusts you is also a lot of pressure. But it's when he starts producing the movie that stress and anxiety fades away. And he seemed to be really into it, like bro was logged in. Not only that, he also records scenes not in script based on the ideas given by actors, production team, and so on and so forth. And just like that, bro finished the recording phase, and now it's time for the editing phase. At first, Gene is very excited because he gets to edit his own film. But as he's editing, as he's going through all these different footages, he hits a wall. You see, Gene really wanted this movie to be 90 minutes long, but no matter what, he just couldn't wrap up the entire movie in that time. He wants to delete some scenes, but the thought of how can I, who knows nothing about acting, delete these scenes? Who even am I to judge them? Completely disturbed him. He started feeling lost, confused, started getting deviated from the main motive of the film, that is, to convey emotion. Just like Dalbert. Dalbert is a conductor who had spent his entire life in the field of music. He used to really enjoy it initially, but somewhere along the way, he forgot about the main motive and chose the path of perfectionism. What Gene can also be seen dealing with. Then both Gene and Dalbert find themselves asking, why do I do it? And for whom do I do it? And this was portrayed by just this one simple scene with no dialogue nor any crazy animation. And the answer was not to be seen or to feel validated. Not even doing it because they are good at it, but to escape the dull reality of life. And also a sense of wanting to give back the same feeling they felt while watching movies and listening to music in the case of Gene and Albert. Speaking of wanting to portray emotions, let's talk about Natalie. So, Natalie is this girl who has lived near the countryside her entire life, and with a passion in acting, she left that life behind and moved into a city, only to realize that the dream she is chasing is not an easy task. She has to do 3 part-time jobs just to earn a living, leaving her no time to practice on her acting skills. Anyone else would have already given up at this point. But she doesn't stop yet. She gives auditions upon auditions, one after another, fails every single one of them, gets rejected 30 times. She feels sad, lost. She might be asking herself, why should I even be doing this in the first place? But she doesn't give up on her dream yet. Why, right? Because for people like Jean and Natalie, they don't live their life, they exist. Every day is just a regular, mundane, and a boring day for them. But the one activity they find themselves enjoying the most is that about films. So they have completely given up on leading a normal life. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to see themselves be without movies. They just can't live without movies. But Alan, on the other hand, yeah, the one guy who doesn't appear for like half of the show, is the complete opposite compared to Jean and Natalie. The type who could do anything he wants and aspires to. But I think at some point in his life, he lost himself. Even though he was working in a well known bank, having a pretty decent job, he hated it and was never happy with it because he had nothing that could define him as a person. He never really cared about something or was emotionally connected to something as deep as Jean or Natalie ever did. And in the path of being good and trying to fit in, he lost something that is much more important than that. Overall, I really enjoyed the film. From having a lolly to maintain retention to giving me a pretty interesting insight in films, I had fun watching it. But let's not ignore that these characters also had plot armors. Like no way can an amateur actor and director can win an Oscar on their first films. But you know what? Who cares? Please ignore it. And if you're free, then try watching it. Till then, peace. Also, why is Mistia kinda hot?